Alright, should be live about now. So just doing the little bit of crap I have to do because YouTube sucks. When it broke my channel, so I have to go through this little bit of extra work to hey, it's not working. Didn't put the live video up. Interesting. So now there it is. Okay. And pause and pop out the real cruddy chat. And alright, so we've completed our whatever they are, the minor tasks required to get one of these streams to work. And looks okay, right? Yeah. Excellent connection. Okay, good enough for me. Alright, so another Dispar video. And it's frankly on the same subject. I don't know why he made separate videos. He's arguing that gravity is not a time-dependent force. So he's not really arguing 1/2 mv squared. Essentially, he's arguing this some other nonsense. But anyway, well, this whole distance argument, that how far you fall in gravity decides how much you weigh, and not how long you fall in gravity, which is the absolute truth. And so he's saying gravity isn't a time-dependent force, that you can't slide over thin ice by creating less weight on a surface because you're going across it more quickly and there's not enough time for you to weigh your full weight. He doesn't believe that's true. So, for example, I could put me on the Earth, and right now all my weight is pushing into the Earth. It's actually heating the Earth, but it's putting pressure on the Earth, no doubt about it. And he's saying it doesn't matter. I could lift me up. You know, some alien could lift me off the Earth and then I stop making pressure. And it's the same pressure. No matter how long I sit on the Earth, I'm only putting 150 pounds on the Earth, and that's it. There's no more than that. Because it's not a constant force constantly pushing me. It's only one unit of force, and that's all I get. It's that kind of silly an argument. So obviously, it's, to me, a rather, for anybody sensible, I could intuitively say to them that, yes, the slower you lift a weight, the more work you'll have to do, because the longer the gravity is pushing you down, pushing against the motion. So you have to do more work. It's just a fact of existence that it weighs its weight 20 pounds in 1 second. Then it weighs 20 pounds in the second second. Then it weighs 20 pounds again in the third second. It keeps adding weight. The longer it sits on something, the more force that goes into the ground. So if I sit on the Earth for 1 second, I put, let's just say, 10 pounds into the surface of the Earth. If it's 2 seconds, it's now a total of 20 pounds of pressure. In 3 seconds, it's 30 pounds of pressure. I continually keep adding more and more pressure to the Earth. It's just a fact. So it's obviously a time-dependent force. Okay, so ways of illustrating it. So he's going to pretend in this video that somehow it's our human body that screws it up somehow, and that it doesn't really nor work. So again, I could use the argument of a weightlifter. When they're going to lift a really heavy weight, they don't slowly lift it up and do this. No, because they take advantage of the huge efficiency of lifting it up quickly. If they can get it to this height quickly and it scoot underneath it, they can use their skeleton to support the weight. All right, but they have to get it to this height, and the slower they get it to this height, the failure is inevitable. The quicker they do it, the more successful they're going to be. So they jerk the weight, because the quicker they can get it to the height, the less work they actually do, because gravity is obviously a time-dependent force. I mean, it's not like there shouldn't even be the possibility of an argument here, right? It's 9.8 meters per second of added velocity, okay, per 1 second. That's the formula. I mean, Newton put it in feet, but I mean, that's the formula. Every second, this is what you acquire because of the force that's added. It's increasing your velocity by this amount, this unit of force. So this is a unit of force. So you get 1 unit of force in 1 second. In 2 seconds, it's 2 units of force. In 3 seconds, it's 3 units of force. I mean, there really is no room for an argument that isn't completely time dependent. If I'm in a stream, it's totally, what's going to decide how fast my boat's going is how long I'm in the stream. Nothing else is going to decide. And so I could point out that Leonard Susskind, in teaching gravity, okay, as a relativity theory, uses mock gravity. So he essentially describes a system. I could probably do it with a circle. He describes a system where there's a waterfall on this outside, all here, just pouring water into this anti-divergence, is what he calls it. And there's a drain here in the center. And the simple argument is obviously as the water is confined in its space, it means the density of the force is increasing. So here there's a very high density of force, out here is a very low density of force. So it's the inverse square law in a sense. And so that's the basic argument, that it's completely going to be time dependent, and you're going to receive your pieces of force in units of time. So, there's no doubt that he understands it's a time-dependent force. And then, the simplest example was the gravity argument, that just is, or a magnet. Again, I'll just use the magnet as an example. And if I have a negative magnet and I have a little south pole magnet here, and I just move it through this magnetic field, the faster I move it through the field, the less it gets bent. The slower I move it through the field, the more it gets bent, because obviously it's collecting more force. So the paint sprayer is a perfect analogy. That's essentially Leonard Susskind's analogy, as he's saying paint comes in from the outside, and depending on where you are, there's going to be a density of paint, and every time a piece of paint hits you, it moves you. It adds a little bit of force. All right, so there's probably another way I could illustrate it. So let's just say you're in space, and there's a field of energy, okay, that's coming at a constant rate. So it keeps refreshing at a constant rate. You can understand that if you're going from point A to point B, all right, you're going to travel to point B, and this constant rate is coming. So all these little dots are moving, okay, at the speed of light into you, okay. Now, obviously, if you just go with the speed of light, you only hit this many force bits. That's all you hit. So if you go really, really fast, that's all you'll hit. Let's say just 100. And the slower you go, the more of these bits, okay, that were going this way, the more of them that will be in the field while you're going. So the slower you go, the more of these units. So if this was 1 unit of force, 9.8 meters per second of velocity. This would be 2 units, 3 units. You could understand you're going to keep adding. And so the slower you go, it goes from just 100 impacts, 100 collisions, to 200 collisions, and 500 collisions, and 1,000 collisions. So obviously you're encountering a lot more force the slower you go. So this is also proven by rockets. I mean, rockets get up in the air as quickly as possible because that's the only way to defeat gravity, is you have to get past the gravity, through the gravity as quickly as possible. If you take your time trying to get through the gravity, you're going to have to do more work. So no rocket takes off at 5 miles an hour and just slowly travels up against the force of gravity. No, it has to minimize. I do something to break something. It has to minimize the impact of the gravity by shortening the amount of time you're being exposed to it. Obviously. I mean, so I could illustrate that, but rockets take off and they go as fast as they can to get to this height, because the faster they go, the less seconds, the less units of gravity, the less units of gravity they have to overcome, and the slower they go, then it's unit. The more gravity they have to overcome, the more pressure against gravity they have to create to keep the to keep the spaceship moving in that direction. So the slower you go, the less distance you get. The faster you go, the more miles per hour, so to speak. Faster you go, the efficiency per unit of distance goes way up. And the slower you go, it goes way down. Those are just absolute facts. Again, he's pretending there's some evidence that this isn't true. He's not going to provide any evidence of any such thing. And so, you know, it's just for the illustration that this is how desperate they are, that they will defend absolute nonsense to attempt to argue that they have some credibility in defending this bad physics. And it's just a nonsense argument. You really can't argue it's not a time-dependent force when it's clearly stated as a time-dependent force. It's in units of time. It's in units of time, for fuck's sake. So, yeah, that's probably enough of a preface. So leave us play the garbage. Let's check the volume. That's probably close enough.
No, it's just simple. Look, physics actually says this is doing no work. Okay, I'm holding up something against gravity. I'm not doing any work. So that's really stupid. But they think that this, okay, me slowly lifting this, is exactly the same amount of work as this. It doesn't matter how slowly I lift it. I could spend 10 years lifting this weight, and they'll say I did the same amount of work as if I did this.
Right. So it just obviously makes no sense that you know you're going to have to do more work. That is and you know that the weight is going to go right through your body because you are holding it up, and the only way it can go, it has to go somewhere, and it has to go into your total weight. So your total weight on Earth is increased by you holding the battery, just holding the battery. You're constantly putting more pressure into the Earth, just holding it. You know, if we say the battery came from space, okay, it didn't come from the surface of the Earth. So I either hold the battery here and let gravity add extra weight to my weight, and it goes right into the Earth, and it's a constant pressure continually going into the Earth. It never stops going into the Earth. It's still flowing into the Earth constantly in units of time. I mean, absolute fact. You can't counter-argue that absolute fact. Right now, if you could see a drawing, you would see that the force is going into the Earth. I'm constantly pushing substance into the Earth. There's a constant pressure being pushed into the Earth. A flow of pressure is going into the Earth right now because I'm sitting on it. And it's in per second units of force. It's in timed units of force. There's no counter-argument. There's no rational counter-argument.
Obviously, that's idiotic.
So I would think that anybody reasonable would say, yes, it's idiotic to say no matter how quickly or slowly I lift something, it's the same amount of work. That's idiotic.
I have to explain how it's idiotic. I mean, it's obviously idiotic. You know it. I know. If I told you to hold a 20-pound weight in your hand, you're going to know the longer you hold it, the more work you're going to be doing.
You are so fucking stupid. Nobody, literally nobody, is going to deny that, of course, it
you're denying it. So what's the point? What's the point of arguing with you? You're denying it. You're saying that somehow there isn't more energy expended to support the weight for this longer period of time against the force of gravity. And obviously it does require more work per unit of time.
requires more muscle tension and calories for a human body to hold a weight for a...
It doesn't matter whether you use electric motors. It does take a direct drive electric motor and move it really slowly and lift the weight, or rotate the motor quickly and lift the weight. And the electricity that you'll use, the wattage that you'll use, will demonstrate the truth of the simple argument. Because it's the same argument rockets depend on. You can't carry the fuel necessary to go into orbit slowly. If you attempt to carry the fuel that you would require to go into orbit slowly, you couldn't do it. You couldn't lift the thing off the ground. It would be impossible. The only way you can possibly get to orbit is that you have to take the efficiency of velocity. I mean, it would be their preference to go even faster, but obviously G-forces would end up ruining their astronauts. But the fact is, the faster you can get into orbit, the faster you can get into a height or a distance from Earth, the less energy you're going to have to use because you had to combat less units of force, less seconds of 9.8 of force. Absolute fact.
A long period of time. In this particular scenario, we are talking about two different kinds of work. We have mechanical.
There's not different kinds of work. So again, what a pile of horse shit. There's just how many calories or how many watts or how many joules of energy is going to be required to maintain the circumstance. And the fact is you're going to burn more joules doing it slowly than you will doing it quickly. Absolute fact.
Mechanical work, work that changes the object's mechanical energy, like raising a weight higher or giving it more speed. Formula idea, force times distance in the direction of motion.
We know that when you're giving it no speed, it's still 9.8 units of this force. This force is still pushing it. It's still going, as if I was to convert it into momentum, it's going 1 mile an hour. Okay? 1 mile an hour. If you hit a scale at 1 mile an hour, you'll weigh your weight. So an elephant 1 mile an hour weighs elephant, 1,500 pounds or whatever. Mouse 1 mile an hour weighs whatever, 14 ounces or, well, 17 and a half ounces. I don't know. Big mouse, fat mouse. It's it's a momentum, and you have it per unit of time. You can't change the fact that it's in units of time. Just like units of wind or units of stream or units of anything that's a force. It's dependent on how much time you're in the force. How long you're in the paint spray will decide how much paint hits you. Duh.
And we have biological effort, muscles burning energy. Your body must burn chemical energy.
So again, just more nonsense about the nuance of when you're supporting a weight based on the tension in your skeleton versus burning it because you're jittering a whole bunch. You could jitter a whole bunch and even waste even more energy. So the more you jitter, the more energy you're going to use. Even more energy is wasted because you're hitting the same gravity twice or 3 times because it's taking you more time to get it somewhere. The more motion, the more inefficiency. You want your motion to be clean and quick. Rockets.
Even when nothing moves, just to keep your arm muscles tensed. That feels like work, but it's your own metabolism.
So he's saying it doesn't matter whether you're holding 100 pounds or 20 pounds, you're doing the same amount of work. Oh bullshit, you are.
Not mechanical work on the object. You dump.
So he's pretending that just holding this tension is somehow the same argument. This is the same work as 10 pounds of weight. No, it isn't.
Fuck. Holding a weight still, the object doesn't move, gravity pulls down.
So, of course, it does move. We just can't see the motion, but obviously it does move. I can move something so imperceptibly slow that you wouldn't be able to see by just watching it, the motion. You can only see it if you took a time lapse or something to see the motion. So you can move something incredibly slowly. And the simple truth is every second it's 10 pounds of pressure, 10 pounds of pressure, 10 pounds of pressure, every second.
Your arm pushes up.
I mean 10 pounds versus, that's if you're using a 1 pound weight.
Up with equal force. Distance moved equals 0, so mechanical work on the weight equals...
So again, more nonsense about distance. Distance doesn't have anything to do with it, so bullshit, 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 bullshit.
Equals 0. Your muscles, however, are constantly contracting and relaxing microscopically, burning fuel to keep that force.
Right, and anything would have to keep that force. I mean, you can understand if I tie a string to the weight, you understand the tension is in the string. And if the string could talk, the string would say every second, oh, that's another 10 pounds. Oh, that's another 10 pounds. Oh, that's another 10 pounds.
That's why you get tired. So you are...
All right, so bullshit. So I don't even know who wrote this. What the hell? Who did this argument? Is this your argument, Dispar? Did you steal this from someplace? There's just nothing.
Absolutely working in the everyday sense, your body is, but you are not adding mechanical energy to the weight.
So of course you are, because you're overcoming the only force that's opposing you, which is gravity. So again, I'll draw the simple explanation. Okay, that the force is coming at you at a constant rate. It's constantly increasing the number of objects that are passing this point. Okay, if you're going to travel through that force, the slower you travel through the force, the more force that's added. And so the faster you go, the less collisions you have with that force. Absolute fucking fact. Fact. Absolute fact. The slower you move from point A to point B, the more interaction with the force you will have. And if it's twice the time, then it's twice the force. If it's 3 times the time, then it's 3 times the force. Absolute fact. And here this asshole is trying to tell people it's something else. He'd pollute young minds with this horseshit religion he's talking.
Lifting slow versus lifting fast. You lift the same 20 pound from the floor to a shelf 1 meter higher. Gravity's force is the same and the total upward distance is the same.
Right. Gravity isn't the same. So again, he's arguing that it doesn't matter. Even though it's a time-dependent force, it doesn't matter how slowly you lift this up. That no matter how slowly you lift it up, it's exactly the same amount of work, even though this is happening per second. So the force coming down is a per second force. Per 1 unit of second time, you get this 9.8. So it's 9.8 and 9.8 and 9.8. But if you lifted it up just 1 unit of time, then it's only 1 unit of 9.8 you have to overcome. You've only had to apply a force this way to compensate for 1 unit of 9.8 of acceleration in the opposite direction. That's all you've had to compensate for. You haven't had to do nearly as much work. You've done 1/3 the amount of work because you evaded these 2 extra units of force coming down, forcing you to do more work. It's just so obvious. And again, he's saying this obvious thing, this obvious fact, this absolute truth, and he's saying somehow he's debunking it with these statements, this rhetoric that comes from nowhere. There's no evidence of it. There's no experiment proving it. So what the hell? What are you talking this shit for?
The increase in the weight's potential energy is mgh no matter how long you took.
Okay, so that's a statement enough, right? He's basically saying it doesn't matter how slowly you lift something, it's the same amount of pressure from gravity. 9.8, that's it. 1 second. You get 1 second even though it took you 20 seconds. It's just 1 second of gravity. 1 second of pressure. Right now I'm only putting 1 unit of weight on the earth. 150 pounds for 1 second. That's all there is. No more. All done. No. The next second it's another 150 pounds.
Going slower means your muscles burn more chemical energy because they have to stay active longer.
Yeah, if you already told us that much, it doesn't mean anything. You got no evidence that this is true. You're expending more energy because it's more work, because you're combating more units of gravity. You're fighting more units of gravity the slower you go. Again, he's denying the efficiency argument. He's denying that rockets are more efficient the faster they go. And that one's just, NASA will tell you that truth.
But the mechanical work on the weight, the energy you gave to the weight itself, is identical.
And so again, just ridiculous. You did the same amount of work, even though there's 50 more units of gravity. Does that make any sense to anybody? Can't make any sense to anybody reasonable.
What your stupid model predicts is that if you hold an object...
So this will be a lie. Obviously, my stupid model doesn't predict that at all. My model says if you're holding the weight, the pressure is going right into your feet, into the ground again. So you've just added a mass to your mass, and now your mass is adding more weight to the ground. But obviously, whatever your skeleton isn't supporting, you have to support by other means, and that means you're going to burn a lot of energy. The longer you hold that box, the more calories you're going to have to consume. Absolute fact.
Certain amount of distance from the ground, that object will gain energy over time. Even when you keep that object only 1 centimeter off the ground, if you keep it there for 1 million years, it will have accumulated so much energy.
So somehow he's saying the energy is stored in the object. Obviously, the gravity is not stored in the object. It goes right into the ground. So again, ludicrous. He's saying if I take this object and I put it on top of my head, okay, that somehow it's now collecting, 9.8 meters of extra force, and it's storing it. And so it's now in 2 seconds, it's got 19.6, and then it keeps collecting and collecting more and more some kind of energy, when obviously the energy is going right through me into the ground. I've increased my weight. The pressure is going into the ground. It's not staying in the fucking object. So again, just a complete straw man argument. Complete nonsense argument. It's not even a straw man, it's just a fake man, a vapor man, a complete bullshit argument. That's not the consequence of what I'm arguing at all. You're a fucking liar.
That when you let it fall, it will produce the same impact as a meteorite impact. That's how utterly retarded your model is.
So again, just a grotesque straw man. Obviously, that's not what I'm arguing, and it's not a fact of the circumstance in any way whatsoever. Everybody knows that if I put the battery on my head, the weight, the pressure it's collecting goes right into the ground, just like it does from my body itself. I don't collect thousands of pounds of energy sitting on top of the earth. No, it goes right into the fucking earth. Duh. You're just such a fucking liar.
Equals mgt is. Bottom line, physics isn't denying you get tired. It just distinguishes between...
Oh, silly. Well, physics is denying you're doing any work, so it's just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous argument to say supporting something in gravity against the force of gravity isn't doing work, when of course it is. It's a force down. You have to apply a force up to compensate for it. There's no option that you don't do any fucking work. They're saying because you have equalized the pressure that somehow there is no net leftovers. Yeah, there's no leftovers. Gravity created real momentum. You have to fight the real momentum with real momentum. Yeah, there's nothing left over, but you had to use real energy to fight gravity. You don't use fake energy to fight gravity. You have to use real fucking energy to fight gravity. What a fucking idiot.
Energy delivered to the object, mechanical work, depends on distance moved against the force, and...
So we know it has nothing to do with the distance, which is proven by the gravity argument. You can do the flyby, you can do the crashing into the earth. Either way you do it, distance isn't going to make a damn bit of difference. The only thing that's going to matter is how long were you in the force. Period. How long were you in the paint spray will decide how much paint you collected, and how long you're in a gravitational field will decide how much energy and momentum you will collect from that gravitational field. Absolute fucking fact. Only a complete lying sack of retarded shit could say, oh no, I don't get it. It's 9.8 meters per second. That means per distance. Seconds are distance. Seconds aren't seconds. Seconds aren't time. Seconds are distance. No, they aren't distance. If Newton meant per foot, then he would have said per foot. Okay, clearly he didn't say per foot. You fucking idiot.
Energy burned inside your body, metabolic cost, depends on time. Gary is mixing those two.
I didn't mix nothing. You're the one playing some magical game that you somehow measured any of this waste energy and using that as an excuse to say because humans are pretty wasteful in how they hold the weight, that somehow that means they didn't do more work. No, they absolutely did more work. The longer you're holding an object against gravity, the more fucking force you're compensating for. You have to do the work. It's got arrows going down. You have to provide the arrows going up. Absolute fucking fact.
The idiotic part isn't the physics, it's treating muscle fatigue.
The idiotic part is that these human beings exist, these fucking trolley pieces of shit who have no agenda besides being anti-something. They're not for the truth, they're not for physics, they're not for science, they're just against me. That's all they have to live for, these petty, weaselly, ugly motherfuckers.
Fatigue as if it were the object's...
To defend this absolute drivel, 9.8 meters per second per 1 second is not a time-dependent formula. That's his argument, that somehow that's not a time-dependent formula. Saying 30-mile-an-hour wind, that is not a time-dependent formula. Of course it is. I mean, it's just idiotic.
Mechanical energy.
So what a pile of steaming shit. So he still hasn't fixed the links on the, the ballistic pendulum
biggest friends and family event
is the one I want to get to. Oh, he puts a commercial on these little shit videos of his. Amazing.
No interest for 5
Where the
years.
fuck is this?
Shop one of the largest mattress selections in the
Where's this commercial coming from? Yeah, it's his video, but whatever. Or it's the next video. The related video. Yeah. I think I don't have autoplay off, so I don't know. Couldn't have been autoplay. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just part of... It's suitable to his purpose, which is annoying and noise making. He's just a noise maker. So again, just ask yourself the simple question. If Newton thought it was a distance-dependent force, why wouldn't he have said 9.8 meters per 4.8 meters of distance? Why wouldn't he have said that? If it's about distance, why wouldn't he have said it's 9.8 meters per second of velocity per 4.8 meters of distance? Because it's not about distance, it's about time. That's why he said it that way. The distance isn't going to matter. Time is going to matter, especially going against the force where you can vary. Free fall is always going to be the same rate. You'll go to 4.8 meters in 1 second because that's already written into the facts. So you can't change how fast something free falls, but obviously you can change how fast you're going to go against gravity. And so because it's an against gravity argument also, that's why it's in seconds. Because you can change how far you're going in 1 second. Doesn't have to be 9.8 meters of distance, obviously. You can go a lot further. So just such a... Oh, these humans are so creepy shit fuckers. Oof. God, I just hate this. This planet is just covered with so much scum. Alright, so far the chat is rather vacuous, but I've come to expect that. Yeah. Oh, this guy is so full of shit, this Gray Sail. I'll go read a couple of his comments, so we'll do a couple of that, and then I'll block him. Okay, so if I lift 10 kilos from the floor to waist height in 2 seconds, well, that would be pretty slow, and drop it on my foot, well, what does that have to do with anything? Or lift the same weight to waist height over a period of a week and drop it on my foot. So he thinks again that somehow you're collecting weight in the object, that somehow when I'm lifting this, that somebody's arguing that this is collecting and storing the weight. It can't store the weight. I have to apply a constant force to keep it in this position. It doesn't stay in this position unless I apply a constant force equaling the 9.8 pushing this way. So we have, if you just do the simple force diagram, I mean, obviously you have force coming down. You know that's in per second units. I have to apply the same force in per second units to keep it in this place. Duh. It's not storing anything. So a ridiculous argument that somebody's actually arguing that something's stored somewhere. What a fucking lie. Jesus. Quite obviously, as soon as I picked up the pen, all right, there's a point where, like a scale, there's an elastic reflex, right? So the scale doesn't read 10 pounds immediately. It takes it time to read 10 pounds. And so what is the ground feeling? Well, it doesn't feel 10 pounds right away. It feels a lot less than 10 pounds until it reaches the end of its movement. So the spring is storing the energy. And it's not until it reaches the end and it stops moving that the ground feels the 10 pounds. So if I put this scale on top of another scale, well, it's sort of cheating because they'll both move at the same time. But if I had some other way of measuring how much pressure the scale is putting on the ground without using something elastic, the simple truth is that, yeah, it only weighs 10 pounds when the scale stops moving. Then it weighs 10 pounds. But before that, while the scale's moving, it's not weighing 10 pounds. Another absolute fact. Yeah. God, these people are such idiots. All right, so let me find the comments. There's been so few comments. I mean, nobody sends any emails with any evidence. Nobody makes any arguments. They're just all such little sack of shit, lying, scummy little pieces of turd. It is just so disgusting. People are so dishonest. All right, some not very imaginative person left the comment, hi. Yeah, so that was pretty funny. Oh, he erased his hi. Okay. All right, so we got another one by this idiot. All right, so this is this gray sail guy. Casting the net out with live streams has not widened your audience. So he's just making rhetorical comments about how to build a channel. Now I can show hundreds of channels where people are doing serious physics videos and they're not getting any more views than I am. Some of these channels have been on YouTube for 5 years and they're doing, frankly, pretty good production work, pretty good videos, and they get shit for views. And he thinks that's the way it should be. Okay. Your debunkers get more views than your videos these days, which says a lot. Well, obviously they don't get more views, they get more comments, which means more people are going back to the video more than once. So in terms of actual views, I don't think you could back that up, frankly, you piece of shit. Okay. All right, this guy just said something. The way they show the experiment, they always show the waves as only oscillating in 2D. Well, you only need the 2D and the double slit. Because frankly, it's going to be irrelevant. Now, obviously, you can do the double slit experiment with square boxes, and then you'll get a pattern both ways. So, you know, the 3D isn't going to give you any more insight into what happens. It's just going to show that, yes, surfaces make the pattern. It's just going to make it more obvious that surfaces make the pattern. All right, it puts the lotion on its skin, so that's just so brilliant. I mean, gee, who could, I just can't even imagine coming up with something so fucking brilliant. And so everybody should be done like that. Everybody should just, you know, every time fucking Sean Carroll opens his mouth, somebody should say Kermit the Frog. When did Kermit the Frog get a physics degree, right? Is that what people should do? Waste their time doing? I mean, you people are just so fucking lame. Ugh. You got such limp dicks. Okay, the answer to your box argument is simple, so this was stupid. When the objects hit the walls, the collisions are either elastic or inelastic. So I shouldn't even bother reading any further, because obviously I made it clear that it was going to be an inelastic collision. It sticks. So I made it clear in the example, so there's no point. What's the point of you commenting when you won't even pay attention to the argument being made, you fucking piece of shit? And he calls himself Tool, which is pretty stupid. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, your rhetorical statements are so fucking irrelevant. Fuck you, Gray, whatever. You can go eat shit and die appropriately. Get what you fucking deserve. You're a wad of goddamn stinking rotten human garbage. And I hope someday the world will be allowed to know who you are and what you're about, you fucking little scumbag. I mean, he has no channel. The channel was created in September. He put an icon on it for some dopey reason, but he has nothing. He can't make a manly argument, you know, with any kind of integrity. You know, can't make a video and show his face and stand by his putrid, cheap, shitty little cheap shot rhetoric. He's a gutless piece of crap. All right, so gotta find that stupid little chatty thing, I guess. Let's see. Oh, he made another comment, but I think he's blocked now. So, all right. It was not an argument. It was a question. What? There's no question there. Fuck you. I've already addressed it anyway in this very video, and obviously it's a silly argument. Oh, I failed to answer. Fuck you. I didn't fail to answer. I made it clear what the answer is constantly. If I pick up a weight, my total weight increases, and the weight, the pressure, the force, the arrows of force go right into this, right into my arm, right down through my body into the fucking earth. I have now gained weight. If I hold 10 pounds in my hand, I now weigh 165 pounds. Fuck you, you liar, that I didn't answer the fucking question, you lying sack of shit. Oh, I've already blocked them, but I'll put them in a timeout too. But anyway. Oh, God, these are just, people are just such sacks of shit. Alright, so we only got 5 people tonight, so that's pretty low. So I don't know if it's going to be worth hanging around. Because, really, you can't argue it to death, can you? Is there some point in arguing it to death? I don't know. I have to think about this. I could argue it forever, just keep saying the same thing over and over and over and over, remake the argument over and over and over again. Is that a plan? Hard to say. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't know what the best plan is. But yes, I mean, obviously interaction's a little tricky. I need this. Okay, so we'll put the chat in here and see if it does anything at all of any interest at all and such. Yeah, put it way up there. Alright, so this all started again with a simple premise, that this is what Leibniz said. Now, he didn't prove any of this, he just said it. And, it was a ridiculous thing to say, in my opinion. Okay, so you have a 1 pound weight, and it's going to drop 4 units of distance. And you have a 4 pound weight that drops 1 unit of distance. Now, the absolute fact is, when you do this experiment, you will double this is velocity. So this will be a 1 pound, okay, times 2 velocity. And this will be a 4 pound times 1 velocity. Now, obviously, this product will be 2, and this product will be 4. So, obviously, you could argue that, okay, I get it. This one's going to definitely, the 4 pounds has more MV. So when it hits the ground, this one's definitely going to have, we'll just say 4 MV, and this one's only going to have 2 MV. Okay, that's just unrefutable. Okay, can't argue about the momentum part of it. And so, as it's been explained, this experiment is essentially the same experiment as this. Okay, so in the first 1 second, both objects are going to do the same thing, the same first unit of time. Let's just use 1 second because it's convenient. So it takes, this distance is 4.8 meters. So in 1 second, it falls at 4.8 meters, and it will hit the ground with a momentum. And likewise, the one mass will drop 4.8 meters in 1 second, and it has an MV at this point. Okay, that's going to be 1/2 its final MV. This is the halfway point. So just like the rolling argument on a surface, okay, which I've made over and over again, if I give something twice the velocity, it rolls 4 units of distance. But we know that it's going half the speed here, because we know this experiment is exactly the same as this experiment. So in this case, it's the same mass. So we know this is exactly the same as that. So we know this is, if this is 1v, all right, and this is 2v to start with, we know it's only going 1v here. So 3/4 of the way down the track, it's going half the velocity. So you're going to understand, oh, okay, something's got to be changing. It's not balanced. And obviously what changes is the friction. Very little friction here, lots of friction here, and that's the difference. The slower you go, the more weight you have per inch on the surface. The weight here at the twice the velocity is half the weight that you'll have when you're going 1v. Absolute fact. So the faster you go across the surface, the less weight you put on the surface per inch. So it's perfectly understandable how the fast velocity means you get a lot less friction, and that's why you lost only half your energy after 3/4 of the distance, is because you have a huge advantage. The ground is taking less. So in this unit is the same friction as this friction. So the heat in the ground, the friction, or you could say heat, is exactly the same for these two things. Just as much heat went into the ground here as went into the ground in that whole long distance. So this is the same argument, this one over here. You know, there's no difference. So you're going 9.8 meters per second right here. This is going 9.8 meters when it hits the ground. The next, these 2 units of distance, you're going to get for free, because you're already going 9.8. So in the next second, you're going to be doing this whole distance, and nobody needs to give you any force at all. You already have that velocity. So you've already gained that velocity. It's all for free. And the only new thing you're going to get is another 4.9 of distance and another 9.8 of increase in velocity. And that's all you're going to get. And you do hit the ground going 19.6, absolute fact. It only took you 2 seconds to fall the 4 units. So in 2 seconds, you only used 2 seconds to fall 4 times the distance. So it's only 2 units of time. It's a time-dependent force, so you know it's 2 9.8s. The 2 9.8s is proven by your final velocity, so clearly you only got 2 units of force. How could you have 4 units of energy? If only 2 units of force pushed you, 2 arrows pushed you, how could you have the energy as if it was 4 arrows that pushed you? Only 2 arrows pushed you. How can you have the same energy as 4 arrows pushing you? So again, Leibniz just declared this to be a truth. No experimental evidence, and in 350 years, no scientist, no physicist has ever done this experiment. No physicist, to my knowledge, anywhere I can find it anywhere on the internet, has done this experiment. No physicist has swung a 10-pound weight and then swung a 1-pound weight into a scale and created data, evidence of what speed it has to go to read its weight. So the 1-pound weight, we want it to read 1 pound on here. How fast does it have to go to read 1 pound as an impulse? And how fast does a 10-pound weight have to go to read 10 pounds? And I would argue if they did the experiment, the absolute fact will be the 2 speeds will be identical. And the fact is the speed is going to be about 1 mile an hour. Because that's the net pressure you put into the earth sitting on the earth. The net pressure is momentum equal to 1 mile an hour. All right. That's how you acquire your weight. But there'll never be a counter argument. All right, so let's see, what else can I argue until somebody shows up and says something. Oh, this one I have to spray. I forget which pen I'm using. Some I gotta spray, some I don't gotta spray. Might as well do a little mixing while I'm here, a little artwork. Fuck you. Yeah, smiley face, right? Yeah. Anyway, God, you people suck. Anyway, all right, clean board, and so again, the simple argument about this mv squared thing that I've made, that's just a decisive proof. So I just have a platform in space, and it has 3 springs on it. Okay, and we put little lead balls on the springs. Okay, so it's not moving. It's in empty space. It's just sitting there. Now I have to do a certain amount of work to compress the spring. So we'll just say it's 3 units altogether of force. So, we'll just say 3 units. 3 units of force. Okay, each one takes the same amount of force to compress. Now, so let's say I compress all 3 and I just launch one of them. Now we know that it's Newton's law, equal and opposite. So we know that the momentum here, the mv I've created, will have to be the same as the mv here. And obviously this is going to be a bigger mass, so we're basically going to argue that this is going to have a m, small m, big V, and this one's going to have a big M and a small v. Okay, that'll be the simplest way to understand it. Oh, you can't really see the... well, you certainly can't see that. Yeah. So anyway, just to illustrate, this is going to have the big V, okay, and a small m. And this one's going to have the big M and the small v, and it's a very intuitive way of understanding the transfer. That the total amount is the same. It's the same amount of ink. Same ink here as ink here. Okay, so it doesn't matter how big I make the MVs, the total amount of ink is going to be the same, that kind of argument. Well, anyway, and so we know if I launch one, I get this same MV, I get 1 unit of MV. Okay, so that's what I'm going to get. Now if I launch two, I'm going to get 2 units of MV in space, right? It's going to be the same MV here as the second one's going to have the same MV. I have 2 units of MV over here. I'm going to get 2 units of MV over here. No doubt about it. And so my velocity is the only thing it can change. So obviously it's going to be the same unit of mass, 1 unit of mass, and it's going to be 2 units of velocity. And then if I launch all 3 of them, then it's going to be the same 1 unit of mass, and it's going to be 3 units of velocity. Alright, so I'll have 3 units of velocity if I launch all 3. There'll be 3 units of momentum going this way. And the absolute fact is I didn't do 9 times the work. Right, there's no way I could do 9 times the work because I compressed the spring, I compressed the spring, I compressed the spring. I did 3 units of work. There's no way I could possibly do 9 units of work. So why are we having this conversation? Why is this fallacy, this completely fake notion that I have to apply 9 units of force to be able to get that 3 units of velocity? That's their theory. That's what 1/2 mv squared requires to be true. 1/2 mv squared requires, this v squared especially, right there, that v squared requires it to be an absolute fact that I used 9 units of energy to make 3 units of velocity. And absolutely no chance of that being the reality. 3 units of work went in, 3 units of velocity were achieved, and I didn't do 9 times the work to get those 3 units. I didn't do 4 times the work to get 2 units of velocity, and it's just an absolute fact that it didn't require any of this kinetic energy nonsense. It's just not true. It doesn't happen in the simplest experiment you can describe. This is the simplest experiment I think you can describe in space. There's no friction, there's no outside forces, there's nothing to screw it up, and it simply proves Newton's law. Okay, this is the 3rd law. I can't change that this is only 3 units of momentum here. 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units. I can't change that. And it's only 3 units that this one got. I can't change that. And there's no room for this idea that somewhere in this 3 units of velocity I have 9 times the capacity to do work. I don't have any 9 times the capacity to do work. I'm going to have 3 times the capacity to do work. Because I'm going to put 3 units of energy in. It's unsustainable nonsense as a theory. It can't possibly be true. Now I could go into all the lever arguments, where now they're denying a 2,000-year-old observation about how levers work and the fact that they do conserve momentum, and they're arguing they don't. That somehow I can put a 1 mass going 1.4 the velocity into one side, and I can make a 2 mass go 1 velocity on the other side and make free momentum. That's their theory, that it's quite possible to make loads and loads of free momentum. So it's completely non-conservative. It makes absolutely no sense, and I really shouldn't have to spend years, maybe decades, making these arguments to deaf, dumb, motherfucking sacks of shit that are wasting oxygen feeding brains that don't work. Your brain has to not work to not recognize this is one fucking good argument. It's a damn good proof that it doesn't take 9 times the work to move 3 times the velocity. It's a damn good proof. So what is this about? It's hilarious how people try to defend a 2,000-year-old idea. So what's the 2,000-year-old idea? about a guy who had psychosis and mental delusions. So who are you talking about? What the fuck is this? You're saying Archimedes was a mental patient? And who cares? Let's say he was completely nuts. The guy invented the screwdriver. He was incredibly clever. How could you deride Archimedes? What the fuck is wrong with you, you fucking piece of shit? You really don't think levers conserve momentum? It's probably just him being confused. Barry Hill is pretty unreliable, so maybe he was trying to say something entirely different. Who knows? Could you clarify your remark? Who are you talking about, you dumb fuck? God damn it. I mistyped. I told you about this typing thing. You can see what you're going to post, and then you can hit the post button, and you can read your sentence first. And if it doesn't make sense to you, then it probably won't make sense to me. You can't defend that pile of shit sentence with I mistyped. What part is mistyped? The hilarious word or the 2,000-year word? What the fuck part of it? Psychosis, mental delusions. Who are you talking about? Newton? Who are you talking about? Jesus Christ. There really is just no hope on this planet. I mean, the people that can speak a little bit of English are so fucking irrational and, disconnected from any kind of real concept. And then the rest of the jackasses can't even speak English, so there's really no hope. Well, potential jackasses. Whatever. I do have a nutsack with balls in it, so I guess I should seem a little masculine. But who cares? It's not the subject either. Oh, Jesus. I mean, it really is disgusting that my own supporters are, God, unreliable, just duds. Can't stay on a subject, can't interject with anything meaningful or relevant. Just amazing. All surprises the hell out of me. I didn't think, I didn't realize how really, you can see the walking shit on the sidewalk and say, okay, all right, so yeah, a lot of the world is moron. But you didn't think like all of the world was moron. I mean, there has to be a few people that, can reason. So at Berry Hill, he says, it's idiotic how you say Leibniz was mentally ill. Well, he obviously was an idiot and a lying sack of shit, okay? I mean, he did steal Newton's calculus. It's just absolute fact that he read it 10 years before Newton published it. And there's no way Newton could have stole it from Leibniz because there's zero evidence that Leibniz did it first. So that's the bullshit here. So let's see. Oh, so you took out that comment. Okay. I'm assuming Barry was talking about Leibniz. Okay, well, 200 year isn't really right. That's 350 years at least. So he wasn't even close to making a typo. 350 is a lot different than 2,000. Well, it's just unfortunately that Barry won't tell us what the fuck he was talking about. Instead, he'll just leave it a mystery. brother. I mean, Leibniz was such a religious fanatic kook. I mean, he's famous for saying it's the best of all worlds. Do you think it's the best of all possible worlds? Do you think the invention of like Lyme disease or polio makes it the best of all possible worlds? AIDS? Oh yeah, yeah, it's the best of all possible worlds. I mean, it's an insane statement. I mean, he's the glibbest moron ever to exist. When you think about all the people whose wife was dying in childbirth and how many people's kids were dying, all the shit. I mean, this is right in the middle of the plague hitting England. He's saying this kind of horse shit. That's the best of all possible worlds. I mean, that's insane. If you want the definition of insane, that's a pretty good qualifier for the definition of insane. Somebody who thinks the plague is the best of all possible worlds, you'd have to say, well, that's pretty goddamn close to fucking batshit insane. Okay, it's probably best. I'm sorry you're disappointed in my reaction, but I'm just saying you have to concede. How the fuck could I possibly know what the fuck you were talking about? I mean, exactly. I mean, I don't even know if you have proof that, Leibniz had a psychosis besides vanity. I mean, he wanted to be called von Leibniz, even though he wasn't a von, and he wore the longest wig you could buy. He was so pretentious. But I don't know what you mean by mental delusions. I don't know what those would be. I don't know if he actually had delusions, whatever they would be. He had complete misunderstandings of basic dynamics. And a lot of people have that without being insane. All right. Leibniz probably had psychosis. Probably. Okay, says you. That's all I say. Well, Newton had lots of personality quirks, okay, that could be used against him. I mean, the fact that he lived in England and he never went to the ocean in his whole life. He never saw the ocean. But yet he explained tides. You know what I mean? I mean, just an amazing character. So yeah, you could find lots of, you could find lots to say about Newton being a pretty weird fucker. I mean, he wasted, if you think about all the science he could have done if he didn't waste time chronicalizing every word in the fucking Bible. I mean, he had a theory about every sentence in the fucking Bible. Imagine the amount of work he did to chronicalize all that crap about all this bullshit in this silly book. I mean, it's an amazing waste of time. It's just amazing how much this fucker did in his life when you consider how much time he wasted doing absolute nonsense. He doesn't believe in God. He believes he is God. So whatever. But let's not argue it. Let's not argue the psychosis of the fucking commenters. That's even dumber than arguing about Leibniz's psychosis. Specific a God living in your body. Just don't encourage him. So if you keep encouraging him by talking about his fucking delusions, you're wasting my time. Do you get that? I don't want to talk about the delusions of some wacky commenter. I mean, it is a real pot calling the kettle black, though. It's kind of funny that he's talking about somebody else's delusions. I guess it takes one to know one. Yeah, maybe that's it. He can spot a nutter a mile away because he is one, right? So once again, you cease to understand the purpose here, which is to talk about gravity, and talk about, number one, that it's a time-dependent force. Now, number two, it might be nice to talk a little bit about what gravity does to the Earth, which obviously there's this insane amount of pressure on the surface of the Earth, right? And then you go a little deeper, and all that shit is also putting pressure on the stuff below it, and then that stuff is putting pressure on the stuff below it. And yet, physics doesn't think gravity's making the Earth hot. Even though they'll concede gravity is pressurizing the Earth, they won't concede that, well, obviously it has to make it hot. That was one of the gray guy's stupid arguments. I don't know, he must have retracted that moron statement. You know, that some theory, you know, that, I have to think of Helmholtz. Helmholtz was famous for doing the coils, you know, that create an equal magnetic field. And apparently he had some theory that Jupiter was getting smaller. And so his argument was, well, if it gets a millimeter smaller, that means there's a higher pressure. So just like compressing a gas, it would get a higher temperature. So I guess he was sort of, Helmholtz might have been recognizing that Jupiter is so far away that there's no way it could have swirly shit. You know, there's not enough heat from the sun to make an atmosphere that has the red spot in it. So if you really think about it for a minute, you could just realize to yourself that the amount of energy hitting the surface of Jupiter from the sun is minute. You know, I mean, it's 1 watt per square mile. I mean, it's a tiny amount of energy. So there's no way it could create all this activity in the atmosphere. So obviously that activity has to be coming from something else. And so they tried to theorize that if Jupiter's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, that it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. But obviously that's a silly explanation. First, they can't measure the small amount of change in the size, so it's pointless to speculate. But the real point is that obviously there's an equality of the pressure going in and the pressure coming out to some extent. And I mean, there's an equilibrium at the size it is. That's the equilibrium size. But clearly there's a ton of pressure. Everything is pushing on the center of Jupiter. The center of Jupiter is an insane amount of crushing pressure. And obviously everybody should know by physics. Physics teaches that if you increase the pressure, you increase the temperature. Absolute fact. So is there something else to say? And the only way the temperature could reach thermal equilibrium under high pressure is like in a giant steel tank where you can create an insane pressure and keep it from expanding. So it can't equalize the pressure because you put it in a container that keeps it at a constant pressure. And so you won't know how much heat you have collected until you release it. And then you'll see the tremendous amount of energy that's inside that pressurized tank. All right, the contention is not about losing a lot of mass, or whatever the fuck that is, but about slight rearrangement of interior structure. So how do you rearrange the interior structure without temperature? Exactly. I mean, what else besides temperature are you going to use to move the interior structure? Jupiter isn't losing a huge chunk to vanish. So who said anything about anything losing a huge chunk? The point is that it's getting smaller. That is, it has a smaller volume. Same mass, smaller volume. Higher pressure, higher temperature. It's compressed due to momentum. Well, that's the only thing you're saying that's actually reasonable. The rest of that crap is useless. The theory that Jupiter's getting smaller isn't accepted by conventional physics. So I'm just saying this is not a theory that conventional physics agrees with. So the point is, if somebody posts an argument that doesn't have anything to do with conventional physics because Helmholtz theory wasn't adopted by physics. It's not their theory. They rejected it. All right, so whatever. We're not doing involuntary suffering in this chat. So if you're going to do that, Barry Hill, you're just going to get timed out. So if you want to get timed out, fine. It's a physics video, you dumb fuck! You can't pay attention to a motherfucking thing I say to you, can you? You just don't pay any attention at all. Oh, shit. Yeah, I might as well just time him out. I mean, there's just no point. You can't pay any goddamn fucking attention to a goddamn thing said to him. Ugh. Whatever you're doing, do it someplace else. Not interested. I mean, you can't figure out it's a physics video. Draft physics, push a verse, debate physics. It's all over this fucking thing. Oh, Jesus. So goddamn irritating. Gary, he was responding to me. I don't care who he's responding to. Yeah, well, too late. Yeah, tough shit. I don't know why he'd bother saying. I mean, look, okay. Yes, so yeah, your screen name is an annoying distraction. So he said involuntary suffering is something. So I don't remember what he said, so I can't say anything about it. But okay, my bad. Just people are just so irritating. So let me just, maybe I can unhide it. Yeah, maybe I can unhide his comment. Untime out him. Let's see. Nope. Let's see. Remove. No. Okay. Let me see. Put in a timeout. Maybe I'll put him in a 1 minute timeout. See what happens. Yeah, I get that your name is involuntary suffering. I don't want to get it, but okay, I get it. Enough stating it. Be really nice if you people knew how to have a screen name that wasn't, wasn't a statement. Like Joe or something. But whatever, my bad. What did he say anyway? Do you remember what he said? Involuntary suffering, something, something. What did he say? So I don't blame you. Okay, whatever that means. I blame me. I mean, obviously I should have recognized that he was directing his comment to involuntary suffering. So I shouldn't have read his comment literally. I should have recognized it was a screen name. He said involuntary suffering, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Yes, okay, so he was right. It was, no, he's wrong. It's not the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I've heard a lot dumber things. But there's no reason to defend, as conventional theory has adopted, the shrinking Jupiter theory, because they haven't adopted it. And again, why would anybody, why do I even have to have this conversation? Again, it's just so fucking obvious what's happening. Again, if you just draw the force diagram, how can we be missing? I mean, why do I even have to make this argument? I mean, it's just so obvious that we have this constant force pushing on the surface of the Earth. Where does the force go? You know, it doesn't just bounce off the surface, right? Okay, so it has to go into the planet. So each arrow just has a new arrow. It just keeps coming, arrow, arrow, arrow of force. And it has to go inside the Earth. And then those arrows are obviously going in opposite directions too, which makes the whole thing even more obvious that, well, there has to be an awful lot of interaction between the elements that are getting pushed. So the matter bits have to be doing an awful lot of jiggling in here, because they're getting pushed this way, and then they get pushed this way, and then they get pushed this way, they get pushed this way, they get pushed this way. They got to do a ton of jiggling. So obviously they're going to get, jiggling is the same thing as heat, right? There's no difference between jiggling and what we would call heat, right? So if the electrons or atoms or whatever we want to say are jiggling, then that's the definition of the existence of heat. And so obviously it'd be damn hot in this center because all of this force has to travel through that center, so to speak. I mean, how can it be denied that gravity has to make it hot? Because where are these arrows going to eventually go? Well, they obviously have to come back out. And obviously they're coming out much later than they went in. So we know the Earth is storing heat. And the heat is essentially momentum. So a certain amount of mv comes in. All right, fact. Every piece of mass sitting on the Earth has an mv, 1 mile an hour on the surface. Okay, plus their mass. So 150 pounds, 1 mile an hour, 150 joules almost, 100 joules anyway, of energy going into the Earth every second, 100 joules, 100 joules, 100 joules. So, I mean, it's just obvious that going through the planet, the force is going to get slowed down. It's not going to get to the other side. So if it's pushing matter, I mean, little bits of stuff, and it's making them go back, forward and back, it's going to get delayed by the time it gets out again. And that's also true if I turned all this force off. If I turned all the force off, no more force. We know the pressure is insane in the center of the Earth, right? So if there's no force containing it anymore, this would fly apart with a tremendous explosion, that the whole Earth would break into little pieces and be, blow way up because it's a huge amount of pressure inside of it. And if there's no container, the pressure has to just fly apart with a tremendous amount of momentum. So it's obviously stored a ton of energy inside of it. And the only place it got that energy was from the gravity. It didn't get it from anywhere else. When it explodes, right, you're going to concede that, yes, if I turn gravity off, you probably all will agree, yes, the Earth will fly apart. It won't just drift apart. It'll fly apart. And you have to concede, where did that energy come from? Where did the MV come from that all those little pieces are going to end up having? It came from gravity. Duh. I just don't know how people could not get that. Alright, so we haven't said anything through my whole explanation, so that's fine. Alright, so I guess we're probably about at the end. Yeah. I mean, I could keep using examples and examples and examples, but it's probably better just do a video and do them all quickly and concisely than just spread them out over time with all this little jabber in between. So, I guess we'll just concede defeat and say there's just not enough viewers to maintain a conversation relevant on this subject. Yeah, it's a pretty easy concession to make. And I do have an awful lot of other things I should be doing, so... I'll give you a 2-minute warning or something. And close shop. So I really am anxious to see the Dispar links to the ballistic pendulum experiments, where they says there's papers written. So there's literally hundreds of ballistic pendulum examples on YouTube, and in no case do they ever collect more than just the momentum in the pendulum. They never collect any of the kinetic energy. I mean, any of the kinetic energy over the amount of the momentum. Ever. And apparently it's just some coincidence that they can never collect any of the extra kinetic energy. So in the bullet they lose 99.94%. If they use a 1 pound weight, they'll lose, something over 50%. But I mean, they always lose, and no matter what, they never get that little tiny bit of extra kinetic energy. They never make any free momentum, ever. So irrelevant. What do I do after this? I have programming stuff I got to do. I got to maintain the website. I got a lot of things to do. You don't have to answer. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't explain all the shit I'm doing. I'm obviously doing the other channel. I got to write shit. You know, I got all kinds of things in my life that keep me busy. I mean, I want to find some use for all these little magnets. You know, I want to come up with some kind of brilliant experiment to, you know, play with these little round magnets because they're really interesting. And I got all kinds of prisms. I got all kinds of things to play with, and I just haven't had time to do any of that shit. You had 20 viewers last stream. Maybe it's low right now because everyone is sleeping. Yeah, whatever. I've done plenty of videos at night. And 9 isn't terrible, but obviously, yeah, closer to 15 or 18 is better. Well, again, it's really none of your business how I earn money, but I've always just been an odd jobist. Okay, so where I used to live, I was basically the maintenance man, and that covered the bases. And now I just do little shit work here and there to pay for food, and I get a tiny amount of Social Security, and that's how I live. Yeah, well, the double slit will be the next simulation. The first one we're doing is the drag argument. So I'm going to have a simulation that'll make it quite obvious that there's no drag. When something moves into more force, I can't create more force on one side. I actually did a video explaining that to him personally, doing the simulation, because he wasn't entirely getting it. So I'll throw this in for free. I mean, the argument's so simple. So if I have an object and I'm going to move it into a force, okay, and there's the same amount of force coming on both sides. So in this unit of time, let's just say it's 5 every second. Oh, interesting. My tablet did something really dumb. Oh, I have to retype the password? What a bitch. Shit. I hate this crap. There's always some kind of dopey rules. You know what I really hate is when when you try to keep a capital letter and it doesn't keep the capital letter. So you have to keep hitting capital letter, capital letter. I hate that shit. I don't know why it does it on this tablet. I mean, I have the stupid Google thing installed, but this keyboard isn't the Google keyboard. It's this other shit keyboard made by retards. Alright, cam and enter. And log in there. Oh, fuck you, there's something wrong. It is incorrect. The account number or password. Fuck you, it's not incorrect, you cunt. Yeah, sorry. It's just annoying. Oh, it erased my password. Thank you. That was really kind of you. Piece of shit software. I hate Androids, really. I don't hate, well, it's the wrong way. I shouldn't say it that severely, but I mean, damn, there's some little things that they could, I don't know whether any of you people notice, but in the last 10 years, apps have gotten so fucking spammy. I mean, nothing's for free anymore, and they, they give you a 3-day free trial or something. You're like, what the fuck? 3 days? And then they want $18 a month or something. You're like, what? You want me to pay you every month? Fuck you in the ass. I just, it's just gotten so shitty. So, sorry for the delay, but it's my security camera, so I like to have it working. Keep an eye on the monsters. Alright, anyway. Okay, so back, let's see what we got here, if there's anything. Let's see. Okay, I know you don't care, but that's a really cool shirt. Yes, it is. I got a bunch of them really cheap, $2, $3, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I'm more fashionable than I've ever been in my whole life, which is really funny. Yeah. Totally not my business. I asked the question wrong. What I meant was, are you a teacher or professor or something? No. No chance that would ever happen. But clearly I've spent at least 15 years immersed in these subjects. I've watched hundreds of physics lectures and absorbed whatever information I could find on these subjects. So that's why I know so much about the history, is because I actually read it. Yeah. Anyway, wouldn't be accepted by academia. So wouldn't that, it's not an argument that means anything to me. Just about a year and a half. I don't know what that even means. What the hell are you talking about? How long have you been here? And he answers, about a year and a half. Been where? I don't know what the fuck you people are talking about, ever. Alright, so back to my simple little drag argument. So I made the analogy that you could think of these as buffaloes. I got a certain number of buffaloes on one side and buffaloes on the other side, and they're going to hit me. And the simple argument is I just add one buffalo to this side. Okay. Now what happens in the first unit of time, right? This is a unit of time. The next unit of time will be 5 more here and 5 more here will go in. So you have a constant supply of new buffaloes coming in. Alright. So I add one more little bit. What happens? Well, you could sort of think that one extra buffalo takes this buffalo out. By the rules of reflection and absorption, that's what's going to happen. There really is just a battle between how many bits you have on one side and how many bits you have on the other side. So now it's 5 to 4. So it has to go this way, right? There's no doubt about it. So 4 of these will be killed. And 4 of these will be killed. And what do you have? Oh, you have 1 left over. Yeah. So now the next 5 come in. And you have 5 bits. No bits coming in. Well, plus the 1 left over. And then I have 5 over here. So again, it's 6 to 5. So what's going to happen? The extra bit takes out 1, then it's 5 to 4, blah, blah, blah. So it has to keep moving. There's no way it can stop. So every time it stops, so let's say it moves, and then it stops. Well, when it stops, all these extras catch up. So it's always going to hit. So there's no way you can change how much force is on either side of you by moving into one side or the other side. The force can't jump to the other side. So all you're doing is saying, I'm going to hit it at a different time. But there's no such thing as time in this argument, because as soon as you stop, you're going to get pushed again. Let's just pretend I stopped. Well, what happens when you stop? All the stuff you evaded catches up and pushes you again. So you can never evade the force. And the simulation will just show how, yeah, that's exactly how it has to work. You can't undo it. So until you add an extra force over here, you have to add an extra bit of force going this way. And until you add that extra bit, you can't change. This thing's just going to keep going. It'll never stop if the force is constant from both sides. You put 1 extra bit in, the extra bit is permanent. So there's no drag. I mean, it's a huge argument. This is the reason why they pooped on Lesage gravity or Fadio gravity, particle gravity, Mach gravity. This is the only argument that was really valid in destroying that theory. Their other argument was that it would create heat. Now, obviously, the whole point is the Earth is hot because of gravity. So obviously, the heat argument is perfectly valid. That yep, things are going to get hot if you're pushing them. Oh, brother, I don't know who you're talking to, what you're talking about. Sorry, I'll just stop yapping. Yeah, okay. I don't know. Yeah, I figured you used new gen slang. What the hell is all that crap about? Oh, fuck. This there's just so many silly people on this planet. Alright, your theory basically is gravity is push, not pull. Well, duh. 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 Yeah. Hilarious. Yeah, the simple argument is there's no such thing as an elemental pull. Right? Elemental pull is woo 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 woo. Yeah, that's all it is woo. There's no elemental woo 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 woo. There's that. That's push. Push is easy. There, I did push again. Push is easy. Pull, fuck you in the ass till dead, no such thing. Simple enough argument. People are just so stupid. Just, again, how could people not even know that obviously there's lots of these arguments that have been made that you don't really pull on a rope, that you grab the rope and you push on it. And then the doorknob, you reach behind the doorknob and you push on the back of the doorknob. All of those arguments have been out there for, even when I was a kid, somebody made that argument in grade school or something that, well, often things that look like a pull are actually a push. So, I mean, it wasn't that, so it was already a seed in my brain that, well, if some of the pulls aren't pulls, why don't I just say all of the pulls aren't pulls? And just say every time there's a pull, I can just look for the push. And just say kind of obviously that if I have two things pushing on both sides and then one of the pushes goes away, it'll move this way. It doesn't mean that it pulled that way. It's obvious they got to push that way. So I just have to look and say, well, did I remove a force and therefore it moved? Well, that would make sense. So I removed a push. So the only way you can have a pull is you have to remove a push. So, well, whatever. But the drag is a huge argument. Like I said, it's completely, mock gravity is now viable. And mock gravity is basically particle gravity. Particle gravity is now resurrected because of this simple argument that if they understood what the force was, right? I mean, even Lesage gravity describes it as an ultimate mundane force, very small little particles moving very fast. And as soon as you know that that's the rule, that's a very small particle force, well, if you really just draw it, like I said, all I had to do was draw it. Once I fucking drew it, I said, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, I keep having a leftover. I keep having a remainder. I keep having a remainder. I keep having a... So as soon as I stop the object, I push into the extra force. But as soon as the object stops, all the force I was evading catches up and hits me. So I can't stop. It's impossible for me to stay stopped because the force I was running away from catches up and hits me. Where does the push energy come from? It's in the universe, you dumb fuck. You don't know what cell phone calls are, and you don't know what photons are, and you don't know what microwave background is, and you don't know where all this other stuff is. That's all radiation in the universe. It's flying through the empty space. That means the empty space is full of pressure. All of that stuff will hit something and apply pressure. That's where it comes from. Well, whatever. You're Tina. That's a Tyra. Tamar. I don't know. Anyway, only a complete idiot would read push a verse as being push a verse. Yeah, no one's reading it that way. They get it. It's like universe push a verse. Pervert a verse doesn't mean pervert a verse. Yeah, I mean, you want to put an eye there, that's okay with me. You can imagine an eye. I'm not opposed. Well, it doesn't make you a dumb fuck. I'm just saying that obviously I have paid my dues to make these arguments, and they're all chronicled, and the website has the subjects. So if you just go to draftphysics.com, all the subjects are, there's a video explaining why conventional nonsense is nonsense and why it can be explained with a simpler theory, and everything is explained. And I do what they haven't done, which is I explain how charges function, why electrons oppose electrons, and why protons and electrons crash into each other. I'm just acquiring I'm a nicotine addict. That's what I'm vaping. Not a big mystery. I don't think. I'm not questioning you, whatever that means. I just ran across your channel and was intrigued. I'll shut the fuck up. Well, you don't have to shut the fuck up. I didn't say you did anything wrong, did I? Did I say you did something wrong? No, I didn't say. I don't think I derided you in any way. I just said, yes, this is physics. It's not as simple as, you know, you don't make 2-minute videos doing real physics. So I'm just saying, yes, you do have to do a bit of, you have to allow me the opportunity to, you know, give you a more complete understanding. See, I mean, even this drag argument, you have to understand, well, the force is the speed of light force. You have to explain, you know, different things have to be understood. You called me a dumb fuck. Well, I'm not sure I did do that, but whatever. I mean, I'm really not. Just asking for an overview. Yeah, well, I'm just telling you the overview requires a little bit of depth, and that's on the website. I apologize if I in some way offended you. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. I don't get the panic. I'm pleased that you're intrigued. I'm just explaining what to do with your intrigue. That I think your intrigue will turn into a greater confidence the more you allow me to explain these basic arguments. Because the more you're exposed to the truth, the more you'll understand how physicists are lying scum, that they know better than what they're saying. They talk about all kinds of experiments that never took place. They talk about some experiments like they're the only experiments that matter in the universe. They'll say things like quantum mechanics is the most proven theory in the history of mankind, and yet the only way it proves itself is in a circular logic experiment. They have an experiment that measures how much electrons bounce in a magnetic field. And they're basically predicting what they already know the experiment is going to do. And they're just saying, look at the fine decimal points. Yes, because they get better and better rulers. But their predictions could go to those dimensions anyway because the rules are so simple. I mean, it's real nonsense to say, you know, I'm proving something by measuring 10 pounds on the scale, and then I measure more specifically and I find out it's 10.3 pounds, and then I find out it's 10.37 pounds, and then I find out it's 3.78 pounds. You know, that kind of bullshit. It's absolute crap. That doesn't prove anything. Real David Hittner? What the fuck is the point of that? What's a David Hittner got to do with anything? Oh, he just types the same thing. This, I don't know what this is. Sorry for the housing crisis. What the hell could this mean to anybody? What a weird fucker. I mean, you made a sock account to do that? You know, it's like, what the fuck? It's so pathetic. I mean, I wish my trolls were a little more interesting. I mean, had a little more creativity. They keep doing the restaurant thing, you know, they keep sending takeout food to my house. You know, and that's just such a win. I mean, the FBI, you know, you should inform everybody when I make these videos that the FBI is probably watching. Okay, so you should be aware of that. But that's just such a funny context that everybody knows the FBI has me on a wanted list. And now, especially with these silly, you know, tangential connections to these other whack jobs, there's just no doubt they're watching, okay? And it's just kind of funny that people are doing these overtly illegal things right in front of the FBI. Like somehow they might not ever think to, hey, maybe we'll go after that nut. You know, that might be fun. You know, so just, you know, keep doing what you're doing. I mean, it's probably in the records of the FBI. You're probably in their database now too. So good on you. You're now in the FBI's database. So have fun. You know, retard. Alright, need a new battery is what I need here. Ugh. Try a blue battery. Yeah. A nice pretty blue one. Let's see. Alright. It should make my life better. We'll see though. Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, much better. Yeah, so the Feynman lectures are really bad, frankly, especially on the double slit. It's the silliest pile of nonsense ever drawn on a blackboard. It's just so unlike the actual pattern. But anyway, last night, and he clearly said nobody understands quantum mechanics, and I thought that was kind of a wild, so I'm just looking for alternatives. Yeah, well, obviously, his quantum mechanics is that everything's random, so it's just kind of silly, because he thinks every photon that goes through the single slit or the double slit, he thinks is randomized. When the simple truth is that the wider the slit, the more light goes dead straight and hits one spot. So obviously it's not being randomized or probabilityized or anythingized. Obviously, the wider I make the slit, the less photons interact with the surfaces, and that's the, you know, less likely to create fringes. And obviously the light just goes straight through and doesn't get affected at all. So, I mean, his own theory is just so stupid. Have you tried nicotine? Oh, shut up, frankly. Yes, of course, nicotine patches have no nicotine in them. So what the fuck good is something that doesn't have enough nicotine in it? I'm not trying to wean myself off. And if I was going to try, I would start with a full glass, not start with a half glass. So yeah, patches. I tried patches, and I end up with patches here, patches on my nutsack, patches anywhere I could put a patch, because yeah, it obviously wasn't enough fucking nicotine. I can't. Oh, well, I mean, the price of patches is almost more than cigarettes, for fuck's sake. But anyway. This costs me almost nothing. I mean, I spend like $100 a year to maintain my nicotine addiction. So fuck you. I'm not going to spend $20, $30 a week on nicotine patches. Yeah, well, Grassi Tyson's just a clown. It's all a joke to that asshole. Yeah, I mean, he just laughs at his own jokes. I mean, it's like the worst kind of comic. Oh, what are you saying? Oh, poaches. What the hell's a poach? Snooze. Well, I don't even know what you're talking about, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Snooze. You have to go look up. I got to Google snooze. Oh, Christ. I mean, I understand there's vaping, okay, which is not bad because obviously it gets into your lungs. It's a pretty good replacement for a cigarette. No tar, excellent. You know, less smoke, excellent. So lots of good things about it. I mean, I would like to have syringes and just inject the shit, but you know, I can't do that. Like I said, you know, I don't know what you're talking about. Snooze. I don't speak modern English, so, you know, I've never twittered, you know. I don't know why anybody would want to Twitter. Oh, God. Anyway. You put it under your lip. Well, that's what do they call that? That's gives you mouth cancer. And it didn't like what others are better. Yeah, so yeah, it's more likely to give you mouth cancer. So no, thank you. I mean, chewing tobacco is really a bad idea, and sitting in your mouth forever tobacco is a really bad idea. Is there any way of monetizing your theory? Well, I mean, it could invent something that I'm not aware of, so hard to say. Do sit in my way, harness energy in a new and elegant way. Yes. Well, I was thinking of just a simple thing, you know. It's just the other, just today. Okay, it came up. You know, they make these cheap air conditioners. You know, they you know, the basic snooker people into buying these cheap air conditioners that aren't really air conditioners, right? They're just evaporators. And I was thinking about it, and I'm saying, okay, well, the real downside is they create a huge amount of humidity, so you're not gaining anything by cooling the air because you're making it so damn humid that you're going to mold your whole fucking house. So I thought about it, and I said, well, the idea then would be is to have a mechanism where, you know, you have a window, okay, and, you know, one part of the machine is blowing out the humid air, and then you have, so that's the side that has the, so you have a wet sponge, and you blow air across the surface of the wet sponge, and it cools the sponge. But you have a little piece of metal underneath the sponge, and so it collects the cold of the sponge, right? It ends up in that metal plate, and then you blow air from inside the house across that metal plate and then back into the room. And so then you get the cooling effect. Yes, you get less cooling effect, but you still get it. And you blow all the humidity out of the house. And so I was thinking, yeah, that's probably a sellable, you know, because you don't need a compressor and all the other stuff. You're just using water and air. So it's, you know, and theoretically it should work. Depending on how you do the metal, you know, you're just basically creating a cold sink, you know, a sink to pull the cold out of the surface that that has gotten colder because of the evaporation. So the surface gets colder because of the evaporation. So you should be able to collect that cold and then blow air over that cold surface. But anyway, I claim my copyright, so go ahead and invent it. and sell it, and then I'll sue you. Yeah, cool. You put it under your lip. Okay, we already did that. Is there any way to... No, I already did that. Not chewing tobacco, LOL. What's the difference? It's in your fucking... It's on your lip. Same difference. It's a white pouch filled with nicotine powder. It doesn't matter what it's filled with. It's not tar and that gives you mouth cancer. Okay, so you have to kind of argue that what's giving you mouth cancer. But look, maybe it's okay. Pure nicotine might be safe. If it doesn't have any of the other tobacco shit in it. I'm just saying there's a pretty clear correlation between chewing tobacco and mouth cancer. So I'm just saying that clear correlation scares me a little bit. Now, maybe nicotine never causes any of that cancer, and it's just the other chemicals in the tobacco that causes the cancer. So maybe that's true. Maybe your mouth absorbs some tar. I'd say the lung cancer thing you can understand because you're saying, okay, you're inhaling this sticky, the crap that comes out of cigarettes, smoke is this stupid sticky shit. It gets on your window and you almost can't get it off. It's so gunky. So your lungs are getting that stickiness in them. That's the tar. And that a bunch of radioactive particles will now stick to your lungs and irradiate you. So that's understandable. That's how you get killed by cigarettes. And especially as I brought up, farmers. Farmers have a high correlation to more often getting lung cancer, being smokers. And you say, what's the difference? Well, farmers are in a dusty environment, right? They're always stirring the dirt up. And the dirt's full of the little radioactive shit, and it's sticking to the inside of their lungs. So that's why they get lung cancer. I mean, all of it is bad news, so I don't really want to talk about the fact that I made a dumb decision when I was 11 years old and got stuck with this silly addiction. And I should be a brave enough soul to say I'm going to get myself separated from it. But so far I've been a wimp. Let's see, would be sweet if you would deep dive into cultural stuff. Why would I want to get into any of that shit? There's nothing to win here. I mean, there should be a cultural war because there's so many bad cultures that think they're legitimate. I mean, the Muslim shit, and then I would even argue black culture has gotten so bad. I mean, they don't think they have to be anywhere near speaking English anymore. I mean, there's just no argument to be made. I mean, all this crap. I mean, their music is disgusting. I mean, the crap I hear coming out of people's cars is just grotesque. It's anti-culture. It's all this anti-culture. I mean, they don't want to be civilized. It's disgusting. So there's nothing you can say that's going to get you can't win. There's no winning. There's no good guys in this argument anymore. There's poofty doofters who think everything's for free, and then there's crooked shysters who steal all the money. That's all there are. I know. I did all that. I did all this. I argued for instant runoff voting and all these subjects, and nothing gets nothing. Nobody organizes anything. Nobody does anything. I want to create a third party. I bothered having the domain name for 3 or 4 years. Fairness first. Nobody supported anything. So fuck it. Who cares about Charlie? I didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was. Okay, so now it's all a big deal. And assassination is fucking bullshit. Okay, that's a pussy way of winning an argument is to kill your opposition. So that's just bullshit. So it's making the left look pretty lame. It's all they can do now. They can't make an argument. All they can do is shoot bullets at people. Well, fuck them. Well, I don't think it's any risk. Like I said, without the tar, I don't see how the lungs are in jeopardy, okay? So I don't think you got a valid argument there. I don't think there's much to vaping that can be worrisome. Again, I'm just going to argue that but it's fine. I'm just saying, do what you want to do. I don't know how much they cost, but whatever. I just think the way I'm doing it's cheaper. I'm pretty damn sure. Ban Caroli. Why? I mean, he's off the subject, I'll concede. But he hasn't done anything profoundly offensive. Yeah, you also do whatever you want to do, just a random suggestion. Well, I don't even know what that means, but fuck that anyway. Yeah, I don't know what that means. God. What I'd like to do is discuss physics. And unfortunately, you people aren't equipped to do any of that. So you're not very helpful to my purpose. My hair is uneven. Real David Hittner again. Strange that he's back. So, I don't know why you're here, Real David Hittner. Why? Why are you here? Yeah. Why do you have that screen name? I'm just curious. Do you believe in, and then he has to put in it. Yeah, I don't know. It's all pretty lame. I'm just looking for the excuse to hit the button, so just type one more sentence so I can make my decision. Because I know the reference. I don't know what that even means. It's funny. How so? But okay, it's no point. He knows the reference, but it's obscure to everybody else and meaningless, so what's the point of it? Oh, that's right, there's no point. Oh, lunatics. David Hittner. Okay, Hittner was the name of a judge, okay, who dismissed a lawsuit I had, and for no good reason. So he just didn't like me, and so he just dismissed it. And so I filed a federal appeal. Okay, not too many people win federal appeals. You know, it's kind of a rare event for a single person, a pro se, to win a federal appeal. Rare event. And Hittner was so wrong in what he did that, yes, the federal appeals court said he can't do that. That was horseshit, and threw him off the case and forced the case to be adjudicated again. Now, the problem was they gave it to another lunatic, and so it got busted again, and then my appeal was filed 1 day too late. So 1 day too late, and so they threw it out. So that was disappointing. But I won the appeal. The first appeal, I won. So clearly, Hittner was demonstrated by the appeals court opinion to be completely wrong, and that he did in fact violate my constitutional rights. That was found to be the truth. And I don't know why people think this is in some way evidence of me being wrong, when the appeals court said I was completely right. So there's another example of news stories being so biased. Because the original news story they did, they pointed out that I was, voicing my opinion about how Hittner is a shitty judge. And I got put on an FBI watch list for doing that. Merely stating my opinion that he's a shitty judge. And but they don't show the second half of the story. So when the appeals court ruled that I was absolutely correct, there's no Fox News story. There's no news story saying, guy who insulted Hittner was exonerated. No, there's no news story. It just shows the bias. All right. So the center of the Earth is hot because of all the energy smacking into each other from the trajectories. Well, obviously there's pressure being applied, and the pressure gets thicker and stronger and stronger and stronger as you go deeper and deeper into the Earth because there's more weight pushing down. So is that too hard to say? Then shouldn't the sun be cool? Why would it be cool? The sun is much bigger. It's got even more pressure pushing on the center of the sun on its surface because the same trajectories don't meet. The sun doesn't have any heavy elements, so there's nothing to slow down the motion of the heat. So obviously the heat can escape from the sun a lot faster than the heat can escape from the Earth. And so it's a lot more dense, an amount of substance, that the Earth is covered in. So if you just make the Earth more like Jupiter, then it's going to start catching fire, is the simple argument. So you just have to have enough mass, all right, to create enough heat, to create enough surface heat. Let's see. The sun be cool at the surface because the same trajectories don't meet. Well, I don't even know what you mean by trajectories don't meet, so that doesn't mean much to me. It's about pressure, and the sun has an enormous pressure created by the enormous mass of the sun. And even though its density is less per unit of space, its total mass is ginormous. The same volume until you approach its center. I don't know what that means. Well, shit, that actually makes sense. Okay, well, good. Look, I mean, I don't want to make a whole thing about fusion and fission, but, just logically you can understand that to fuse something, you're always going to have to apply a pressure, a pushing force. So their own concession is to make a fusion engine, they're going to have to create this insane amount of energy in just to create the compression. And there's just so little evidence that anything other than a release of a compression is the way you gain free energy. You can only make energy by popping a balloon. Pumping one up, you're not going to gain any energy pumping one up. You're only going to gain energy by popping one. Releasing pressure, explosions, pushing out, push, push, push. And so obviously, I'm just saying, do you really believe this idea that they're going to take, hydrogen atoms and fuse them, and by pushing them into each other, somehow they're going to release more pressure? And it's just not a very good theory, in my opinion, because breaking a hydrogen atom is almost meaningless. Breaking a neutron, that's pressure. Breaking, neutron being the simple description of it's more than a neutron. They're called deuterons by physics. Okay, but the idea is you have a proton, an electron, and a proton. And you could sort of understand that anything that, if that exists somewhere, you could understand as a neutron plus a proton. It's that simple. But you could understand that if I was to knock this electron out with a force, pop it out of here, that I'd end up with two protons that are insanely close to each other. And obviously they'd be generating a huge, like magnets, very strong magnets forced into next to each other, and a huge amount of pressure. So you could release energy that way. But you really can't release energy by taking something like the typical hydrogen 1 anyway. Hydrogen 1 is pretty lame. Now hydrogen 2, which is most hydrogen, that's something like this. Right, 2 molecules of hydrogen would look something like this. So you have something that's there, you could say, okay, I can understand where if I broke this apart, that I could have either the electrons fly apart or I could have the protons fly apart. But I mean, it's it's got this balance between the attractive forces and the repulsive forces. And I shouldn't say attractive, but it's, you're stuck with the language and the form it's in. But I'm just saying, it's just, the sun is making as many elements as it destroys. You could understand that I could throw something into the sun, and obviously it gets into anywhere near the core, it's going to be under insane amounts of pressure, and it might just disintegrate, fall apart, break down. We know uranium, the more uranium you put in a small area, the more it interacts and the more it decays. So it goes from having a 10,000 year half-life to having a 5-minute half-life. So the same thing. The sun's making elements and it's destroying them. It's making them, destroying them. But it's not being fueled by fusion. It's being fueled by gravity. All right. How do you feel about Elon? I don't want to really talk about Musk. Musk is a fraud and a fake and a phony. He hasn't done anything. He's a crook. That's what he is. And his predictions, pretty cool stuff. Well, I think you're an idiot, but whatever. AI will never do anything because AI doesn't think. AI barfs what it has read in a book. And that's all it can do. It can only barf what the authorities say. So it picks authorities. Well, I'm saying that's sensible. You know, you don't read comic strips, you read, physics papers. So it reads high-end shit, and it takes that seriously and takes the low-end shit not very seriously. But it's just a meme engine. It's just regurgitating authorities. It's great Trump is building all these data. He's not building anything. There's absolutely no evidence of anything being spent at all. Okay, it's just nothing. There's no evidence of anything the government is financing or supporting in any way. So that's just a complete lie. No real anything is taking place. Okay, so we know we don't like this Donald Trump fellow, and he's just going to spout propaganda. So we know that Elon Musk is not a genius. His ideas are idiotic. Watch Thunderfoot does a reasonable job. He's horribly redundant. His videos are almost impossible to watch because he's so redundant. But the fact is, his silly tunnel idea was retarded. You shoot people at bullets, speeds inside of a tunnel, and a million things can go wrong. Where you're using, evacuated air pressure to move the object. There's no brakes. There's no way to stop a catastrophe. It's just so damn stupid. Only an idiot would subject themselves to potential disaster to get somewhere 4 minutes sooner. I mean, so many of the ideas are so easy to debunk in the sense that it doesn't even work. You have to wait at an airport to get on your airplane. There's no quick way to get into your tunnel. So it isn't going to work. It's not going to save any time. Ugh. All right, well, I just hide Donald. Let's see. Why do you think modern physics doesn't share or support your push over pull? Well, I don't think they've actually had to make the argument, have they? Have they been challenged by anybody? Do they allow their arguments to be challenged? I mean, Leonard Susskind, I'm just saying, okay, the most famous defender of Einstein's relativity, the highest profile Stanford professor on the subject, explains, gravity by using Mach gravity, a push force. So he explains gravity using a push force. Water comes in here, it pushes, it goes down a drain. It's completely a push analogy. So to tell me that modern physics doesn't accept it, well, they don't accept it in the words they use, that you're getting pulled down to the earth. But clearly when he's teaching the subject, he's talking about a pushing force. So I say my side wins there, right? Just logically you could understand. Obviously they don't unsupport the idea that it's a push. Because when they have to teach it, they teach it as a push. Because obviously teaching it as a pull would be silly. A magical pull makes things move towards the earth. I mean, it's just silly. Something needs to be pushed into the earth. It needs to be, the force has to interact with the object, and the only possible interaction is a push interaction. There's no such thing as a pull interaction. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out, frankly, but whatever. I just think it really is silly of physics to use the word pull. It's silly. But it's silly of physics to say the amperage goes this way in a wire and the voltage goes that way. It's silly. They all know it doesn't happen. They all know the amperage doesn't go in an opposite direction of the voltage, and yet they say it anyway. So you didn't do bad for 10 people. You fixed it. A few of you asked some questions, which are good. So I'm glad I gave you the 2-minute warning. You redeemed yourselves. Mostly. Well, at least you gave me an opportunity to bring up a couple more subjects, which is good. Let's see, state of Delaware. So we know this is useless crap. Why would somebody create a sock account to do this shit? I mean, it's not even, I'm not going to read it. I don't know why anybody else would read it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Pretty pathetic. You know, it's really pathetic that YouTube lets people do this, you know, create all these sock accounts. I mean, their algorithm is perfectly aware of people that make comments that get blocked. So obviously these sock accounts shouldn't last very long, and they should just say, oh, it's a troll. I think, frankly, that YouTube would be better if they just gave you a tier of account. So people who make videos would have a better account. That is, their comments would be better. There would be a little star next to them, or they were higher ranked than people who don't make videos. That kind of thing. I mean, there really should be some sort of identifier on the comment about, well, yeah, this guy's had an account for 20 years, or something like that. He's made 768,000 comments, or something like that. You know, they should tell us a little bit more about who's commenting. I don't know what the little king hat means, but that's an interesting, weird thing. I don't know what it means. Yeah, what does that mean? Whatever that is. Little king hat number 2. What the fuck does that mean? You all remember Mendham, so he's doing the same thing over again in another sock account. Just amazingly weird. I mean, what the fuck? Let's see. I'm imagining me standing on Earth and being pushed. Why would the push force be less on a smaller object like the moon? Because it's about the differential between what force is hitting you from above and what force is hitting you from below. Obviously the moon is smaller, so it's not slowing the force down as much, going from the bottom up. The force in the outside universe has to go through the Earth to get to my ass. The simple argument is it doesn't get to me in the same time as the force up here. Force here is now. The force coming up, it's a little bit later. So it's not going to be any good now. Now I'm not going to have the same force. So the smaller the object is, the smaller the differential, because it's consumed less of the force. It's made less heat. So you can understand the moon has made less heat, therefore the force is stronger pushing my ass, therefore there's a smaller differential. The bigger the object, the more energy it's consumed out of the force, so to speak. The energy has been delayed in getting to my ass. That's the way to understand it. So if you're standing, okay, you can understand the force hitting your feet and pushing up is a little less than the force pushing down. And the bigger the object, the bigger the differential. The smaller the object, the smaller the differential. Energy can't be destroyed, so whatever. There's no such thing as destroying energy. As it collides with the energy coming from all trajectories, you can't destroy it. If I bang two Newton's balls into each other and they bounce away, I don't make any heat because I didn't waste any of the energy. But if I smash two balls together, steel balls together, and I don't let them bounce, they'll burn a piece of paper. You can't destroy the energy. You can only convert it into some other form of motion. So the simple argument is the gravitational pressure we're putting on the Earth is going to be converted into radiant energy, heat. Alright, interesting how no matter how fast something moves, it always has mass. Oh, I don't even want to talk about this moronic crap. Why is that interesting? You think its mass has something to do with moving? Sorry, its weight has something to do with moving. Weight. I put something next to this scale, it doesn't weigh anything. Because it's not fucking moving. Doesn't mean it doesn't have any mass, it just means it doesn't have any weight, doesn't have any momentum. I have to move it for it to push on the scale. Oh, shit. Oh. It always has mass. Even if it's just sitting there, mass is still mass, energy aside. Yes, mass is mass. That's right. Electrons have mass, protons have mass. They get hit by a force that has mass. It all has mass. Something can't exist if it doesn't have mass. Just a fact. Then it's called nothing. If it doesn't have mass, it's a nothing. To be a something, you have to have mass. Okay, so your agreement with physics that energy can't be destroyed, I get it. I'm not agreeing with them. Okay, I'm just clearly stating I agree with Descartes, who they don't agree with. Descartes says the same amount of energy is in the universe, and it's just moving from object to object. They think when the energy is in a bullet, it's more energy than when it's in the recoiling gun. They don't agree with Descartes. They don't agree with conservation of energy or conservation of momentum. They think you can put a different momentum, you can put one and a half momentums into a lever on one side and you can get two momentums out of the other side. That's what they believe. They believe in creating free momentum. It's also crazy how big the universe is. Well, whatever. It's crazy how small the universe is. The real universe is insanely small. There's 100 billion neurons in your brain. Now just imagine if each neuron has 100 billion atoms. And then you imagine, well, how many electrons and protons is that? I mean, the real universe is insanely dense. Truly insanely dense. Yes, it's not just crazy, it's insanely dense. I think that's far more interesting is to realize how huge the electron-proton universe is. Because that's the only universe that does anything. Everything I'm doing, electrons and protons have to do it first. Okay. Let's see. It's also, okay, yeah, what do you guys think the meaning of life is? So he just won't stay on the subject, right? I mean, it's too ridiculous. It's not the subject. The subject is gravity, fuckhead, and just what we can understand about physics. Physics will never answer that question for you, moron. It's just so stupid. I think it's the experience of friends. Isn't that just so pussy, silly, girly crap? Yeah. No. It's a blowjob, asshole. There's the meaning of life. I'm frankly not a big fan of blowjobs, so I'm just saying, it's just, something to do with your penis is the meaning of life. If you haven't figured that out, you're really fucking stupid. People. Friends. They give you a blowjob. People are just so creepy. God damn. I don't get any of you people. I just don't get you at all. It's just amazing we grew up on the same planet. Let's see. Oh, shrooms again. So guess what? You're going to get timed out. Too bad. Silly person talking about his mushrooms again. Jesus Christ. I do drugs. I stick my finger up my butt. I stick my finger up my butt. I stick my finger up my butt. It's really cool. I mean, that's all you're saying. I'm not interested, fucker. Go shroom someplace else. And I don't believe it anyway. Who would waste a psychedelic experience on watching one of these fucking videos? I mean, it's meaningless, pointless experience. You don't need to do any of that. Frankly, it'd be way too intense. You wouldn't be able to even follow along. It'd be just such a waste of your mind expansion. Well, of course he's trolling, but I just mean it's just a useless mush, right? I mean, just what's the point of it? I mean, it's trolling that doesn't even have a purpose, an end, or an accomplishment. People. I hate people. I hate people. I hate people so much that I can't stand how much I hate them. Song. Really has been my life pursuit to find reasoning and logic and somebody making sense. Nobody does any of these things. All right, LOL. I don't know, again, if you have to have it explained to you that force exists, that cell phone calls have energy, it exists, it permeates through space, that photons travel through space, so you want to make up some crap that this is a mysterious statement to argue that there's actual forces in empty space traveling through the space. It's actually forces doing that, little amounts of pressure. It's moving and it's going to hit something eventually and apply its pressure. So you think that's some sort of bizarre and extraordinary statement that the universe contains this stuff. It has mass and it has force. And the force interacts with the mass, and then because the mass moves, it interacts with the force. It changes the force. That those two things are all that's happening in the universe, is mass manipulated by force. And you want to turn that into some complicated thing. It's not complicated. It's not hard to imagine. It's not a joke. I'm just saying it's not funny if it's a joke. I mean, there's actual people that will ask the question. They'll say, well, how can you account for the existence of matter? How can you account for the existence of the force? I don't have to account for their existence to talk about their behavior. And that's all I'm doing. I'm accounting for their behavior. I'm not accounting for their existence. I can't explain why there's a fucking universe that has these things in it. But I can state it's not because there's a God who done it, who came from nothing. So again, I know it's really stupid to explain the existence of something by proposing the existence of something you don't explain the existence of. I mean, if I have to explain where matter came from, why do I have to explain where a God came from? For fuck's sake. And you're just kind of playing in that dirty water, as I see it. Why play with this silly notion that we need to explain every single thing that exists in the physical universe, when all we have to explain is how does it behave? What are the rules that govern its function? That's physics. Sorry, I'm just saying the poorly worded joke doesn't help the argument any. That's all I'm trying to say to you. Jesus. Oh, well, that's not too pleasant. Yeah, you hear about people who are dead, right? Like an actor or some other thing. You say, oh, shit. And it's just like, we never have to see any of that, right? So all of that is hidden from usual inspection. You know, we don't have to see all of the lives that are turned to shit and, you know, where they're just ruined and destroyed. You know, because the world, obviously it's not pleasurable. It's not fun. So we don't see any of it. And it's such a cheat of your life that you don't really have a chronicle of all of that suffering and torment and horror. It's great. I'm glad it's a new theory to you. That's all great. I'm saying it's physics, so all of these arguments aren't going to be explained in 2-minute piles of mush. So there's 2 websites. The Draft Physics website is probably the best place to go. And it just organizes all the subjects, and I explain why the conventional explanations are all bullshit. As I've done in this video, I mean, frankly, I've explained a lot of things in this video that are bullshitisms of physics. I mean, for physics not to concede that gravity creates heat is just so absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, lung cancer, I mean, you know, it killed a very good acquaintance of mine last year, and a woman. She never smoked, as far as I know. I think women get in trouble with lung cancer because they're always vacuuming. I think vacuuming causes cancer. It's actually a theory of mine. Because, you know, women keep thinking they're making it better because the dirt that's stuck to a surface is somehow obnoxious. When obviously the dirt stuck on a surface is the least obnoxious dirt you can have. And, you know, they're vacuuming, but when they're vacuuming, obviously a lot of the dirt, dust, doesn't go into the vacuum cleaner, it just goes into the air. And so they end up cleaning, and they're just inhaling a bunch of, you know, not very good particles. Well, that's true too. You got there's a lot of chemicals, but you know, it's hard to say about the chemistry of, you know, cleansers and different things, whether they're really carcinogens. But who knows? You know, hard to say. I mean, the small amounts that you're getting, you know, obviously things give things cancer. If you give them enough of anything, it'll give you, you know, if I force you to eat enough broccoli, it'll give you cancer. Yeah, you know, so that's a little bit tricky, but I agree there's too many chemicals in our environment. I mean, we ingest so many. I mean, everything we consume just about has all of this extra shit in it. I mean, the synthetic coloring agents to me are the most annoying. Like, you know, what color this shit is shouldn't make any difference to me. Well, plastics in our blood. Frankly, plastics are pretty inert, so I'm not too afraid of them. But whatever, you can be afraid of whatever you want to be afraid of. The real argument is about the oxidation argument, you know, antioxidants and, you know, all of that kind of stuff that really creates the atmosphere that allows cancers to grow and whatnot and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, there's so much to cancer research that although I'd like to be, yeah, I'd like to opine on the subject, there's just so much you got to know before you can do it reasonably. So I probably should just shut the fuck up. You know, you have to. It's all a huge component is genetics. We know that. You know, whether you're vulnerable or invulnerable, and you know, they just haven't figured out all that code that makes it the difference between somebody who's likely to get a cancer and somebody who's unlikely. But you just know it is genetic, like breast cancer and different things. You know, huge genetic component. And the funny thing is people don't do anything with that knowledge. So if you, you know, Christina Applegate, you know, has this really bad genetic gene, and she ends up having a kid, a daughter, and, you know, what does she sentence the daughter to? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But that's such a sad, you know, it's just shit, you know. So weird, you know, in life, you make decisions and you got to pay for them. You know, but some people, it's like, they didn't do anything harmful, but they got all the shit, you know, ended up hitting on them anyway, you know, all the bad luck. And, you know, it's just, life is so unfair. I'm just saying the genetic part of this is a real argument that the people who are breeding the most are people obviously who have survived poverty and terrible circumstances. So in one way they're very hardy, but in another way there's no proof that they have any longevity. You know, it's, you know, the only thing proven is they can live to be 30 years old. You know, I mean, eugenics isn't a thing. I don't think we should try to, you know, puppy farm humans. But I think there's just logical where you say, gee, it's better to winnow out bad genetics. It's like a boomer, right? I don't know what that means. No disrespect to Amendum, but he doesn't know what it's so over means in that context. I don't know what it's so over means. I think I do. I mean, it means that, oh, it's doom. Endgame. That's what it means. I mean, fuck, I don't agree with him, okay? I don't think microplastics is a big threat. Plastics don't interact aggressively with anything. And especially when they're inside your bloodstream, they're really not reactive. The only time they're reactive is when you're hitting with lots of radiation, and then they start to degrade into smaller and smaller chemicals. But I'm just saying the net fact is the plastic isn't full of dioxin or something unless you burn it. Not such a boomer now, huh? What the fuck is this conversation? What the hell are you retards talking about? So instead of boomer, maybe let's just have a category retard. LOL, he doesn't know 99. Yeah, I don't. Oh, fuck. You people really are just too stupid. So again, I've made it clear it's a physics conversation. You're going to bring up eventualism again. I know this is about gravity. No, apparently you don't know. Okay. So can you direct me to a video that gives your argument against those supporting eventualism? Just I mean, I've done 20,000 videos on the Inmendum channel. So yeah, Inmendum channel. Go there. But God, what is a stupid fuck. I invented the word eventualism. Okay, Jesus. It's just funny. Yeah, well, nobody's going to explain anything in a chat, retard. I've made it clear it's physics. You know, you got to do a little work to understand physics. But I mean, push-averse is the explanation right here. Pervert-averse versus push-averse. All I found is do not God. Well, I don't care. You're too stupid then. You don't know how to type Inmendum into the search and find the Inmendum channel. That's asking too much. I think my screen name shows up here, right? So if I just throw something stupid in the chat, I could just throw an emoticon. Is there a fuck you-a-con? Well, I just used whatever this is. There. There's the channel name, Inmendam. You go there. Millions of videos. Fucking people. What the fuck is that? Green sandwich? I don't know what that is. It's a laughing sandwich. Fuck. I wonder who voted that in. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Green sandwich. Yeah, that's yeah. Oh yeah, everybody will want to use the green sandwich. Oh, and the blue fromage. Well, redundancy isn't very interesting. You should have had numerous different emoticons. Oh, sad cat, happy cat. Yeah. I don't know what the hearts. Yeah, I guess those are hearts for eyeballs. Speak no whatever and hear no whatever monkeys. Yeah, that's very cute. Okay, no more emoticons. You get timed out if you emoticon any further. Oop, you're asking for trouble, buddy. Gave you fair warning. Don't provoke me. Anyway, alright, things seem to be winding down, so I'll give you another 2-minute warning and then I'll get the hell out of here. So try to say something intelligent about a physics concept. That's your challenge. What do you think it stands for? A pair of pink lungs? I don't give a shit what it stands for. I'd be more interested if it was a vagina or something, so. But yeah, pink lungs don't mean much to me. I guess it could be a couple of testicles, right? I don't know. Is that what it really is? Testicles? Breathe easy. Yeah, maybe that's what it's. Breathe easy. Maybe that's what it stands for. I don't know. I have no idea. Why I would use it in a conversation. Yeah, it's just like, yep, no, but don't know where pink lungs comes into it. Let's see. Draft Science keeps claiming Professor Sam Dave. Who the hell is that? What the fuck is that? Sam Dave is wrong about energy. Yes, he's an idiot. But momentum and energy are both rigorously defined. Well, that's just a lie. Momentum and energy, kinetic energy, are described as exactly the same thing. It's the motion of mass. Okay. And there's no experimental verifications. That's just an absolute lie. You can't just ignore it. Yes, you can, because it never does any work. And I've already given the example previously in this video that it can't possibly be true. And just for you, I'll draw it one more time. 3 springs on a platform. Okay. And I'm going to launch a ball with the springs. I compress the springs with a certain amount of energy. They all have that energy. That's all they have. I launch 1 ball, I get 1 unit of velocity. I launch 2 balls, I get 2 units of velocity. I launch 3 balls, I get 3 units of velocity. I did not do 9 units of work. Okay, and the fact is 3 units of velocity will not give me 9 units of energy. I will not have 9 units of energy. And it's kind of obvious I'm going to have exactly the same momentum that I released is exactly the same momentum I'm going to have. And that's all I'm going to have. And I don't have to do 9 times the, I don't have to put in 9 times the fuel to go 3 times as fast. Absolute fact. So fuck you in the ass till appropriately dead. You can't dispute that argument, you can't refute that argument, you can't diminish that argument, you can't counter-argue that argument. You are cooked and you're displaying you're just a belligerent idiot. You want to be stupid. That's your prerogative. He keeps deleting my comments. What comment? So it's impossible to talk to him without an account. I told you, send me an email. Show me your links to your proof. And I'll read the email and show it right to everybody. So you're never stopped from making your point to me. I'm just preventing you from annoying my audience with absolute crap you can't defend with any evidence, you fucking lying sack of shit. Until you refute this argument, you have no standing. You have to refute something I say. You have to prove it to be wrong. Prove where I said something wrong in this example. Until then, fuck you. Arrogant prick spewing absolute nonsense, basically talking to himself because nobody else in the real world will give him the time of day. Well, that's not relevant, but whatever. Audience of nobody. Again, what's your point? Then why are you here? Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay, good. Then that'll give me a reason to get rid of you, because drunk is just as bad as swooning. I mean, for the kids, you know. Obviously, drunk isn't much of a thing to be in your life, so try to do a little better than that. Let's see. LOL, ignore Carolabal. This dude doesn't even understand physics. Well, you haven't shown any understanding. What's your understanding, retard? Ugh. It's mass and velocity. I don't know how anybody has any confusion. You're just multiplying the mass times the velocity. That's the momentum. It's a pretty reliable formula, fuckhead. Yeah, well, there's no point. This asshole isn't going to say anything worth listening to. He has no counter arguments to anything I've stated in this video. Not a single sentence can he refute with anything called reason and logic. Just shows that people are really belligerently stupid, right? Just like they're belligerently religious. You point out, oh, come on, you can't sustain this moronic belief in this fairies floating around in some cloud somewhere. This silly story of a heaven and a hell. It's all just such baby talk. How the fuck can you be this stupid? And you could just say the same thing to these morons. Their whole life narrative is nonsense. Drivel. I mean, there really is no point in being alive if you're going to live in a delusion of absolute horseshit. I mean, just a bunch of fake fables. If you think you live in the enchanted village or something, you know, you live in gingerbread land, it's just so damn stupid. Well, there isn't much to like about human beings. I'm just saying they're just terrible waste of neurons. I mean, a brain is a terrible thing to waste. Your mind is a terrible thing to waste. Well, you know, human is just catastrophic brain wasting. Do something with the magnets. Have to think of an experiment. Alright, another 2-minute warning just for fun. Funny, these are all the same size, except for these stupid yellow ones are bigger for some reason. It's just like, why'd they make the yellow ones bigger? There's no point. All the same size except for the stupid yellow ones. Alright, well, I guess it's time to go. So anyway, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of a 50-50 thing tonight. Not terrible, but not terribly useful either. But whatever. It is what it is. I can only do my part. I can make reasoned arguments, and that's all I can do. And if nobody's going to say anything rational, then there's not much use in talking. But whatever. I'll have to just wait for somebody rational to show up. Let's see, I'm seeing Jezebel spirits around me. Yeah, well, we've told you before that nobody's really interested in your psychosis. So, I mean, you know, just for the fun of it, I will... Oops, I guess I destroyed you forever this time. Ah, too bad. Yeah, so you really did ask for it and you got it. I meant to put you in a timeout, but it doesn't matter. You're really not... You're not productive. You're dead weight. You're, you know, sinking the boat. You're not really floating the boat. Okay, great stream as always. Well, at least I was pretty good. I don't know if it was great, but I was pretty good. Yeah, so we just say that. I was pretty good. All right, so till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot.